I'm joined by State Senator Karla Bigham. Thanks for your time today.
Thanks for having me, Ann.
Now, who do you represent?
So I represent Cottage Grove, Hastings, Denmark Township, and then you come back north and you hit Afton, St. Paul Park, Newport, Great Cloud Island, cross over the Wakota, and I have South St. Paul. And we can't forget Nininger Township at the south side of Hastings.
You've got a big area.
It is. It is quite a large district, but I tell you what, there is nothing more humbling and just so prideful to be able to represent my hometown. So it's amazing.
Well, what kind of legislation are you working on this session?
Oh, a lot of different things, from transportation issues, whether it is 316 and Highway 61 down in Hastings, Highway 61 lighting, Concord Street in South St. Paul needs some help. You know, one of the biggest issues that we face up here is how we're going to fund our infrastructure, and so that'll be an ongoing discussion. Also, I've been working on chronic wasting disease legislation for cervet for deer and elk, looking at whether it's fencing, whether it's depopulation, getting some data and science and testing on it. It's a real big issue for Minnesota. Almost 500,000 Minnesotans pull hunting permits every year for deer, and it's a big deal to our economy and our culture here in Minnesota, and so that's a big issue we're working on. I really strive to work across the aisle. I've worked with Senator Housley on some child care, daycare deregulation, on stuff like that. And, you know, I'm proud to be on the Human Services Reform Policy and Finance Committee, and that really ties into my previous job of being a Washington County Commissioner and working on some of the social service side of things, cracking down on fraud in the CCAP child care area and how we're going to handle that, because that needs to be tackled, very important issue. And just, you know, really working across the aisle on issues and programs that impact Minnesotans.
A lot of big topics going on right
Yes, yeah, and our main thing, remember, is the budget. You know, we have a big difference between what the Senate Republicans are proposing versus the House and the governor, and all three have a little different scenario, but the outlier are the Senate Republicans. So it'll be interesting here as we wrap this up in the next 6 weeks.
I know one thing you talked about was infrastructure, and there's been a lot of talk about the gas tax.
Yes.
What are your thoughts about that?
Well, it's got to be part of the resolution, and I support, you know, the governor's approach to, you know, looking at how we can take the general fund money and replace that with gas tax, which is a true user fee. It's dedicated to roads and bridges, but I do believe we have to have money in there for transit. And, you know, last time I was in the House was the last time there was a major overhaul of the transportation funding, right? We did a gas tax, sales tax, bonding. I think now, speed up, fast forward 11 years later, you know, there was no Uber and Lyft and autonomous vehicles and electric vehicles. We have to, all that has to be in play in how we resolve this. And so I like to say that I think it'll be a transportation hot dish, because I'm a true Minnesotan. So I think you'll see a little bit of different things. I think you'll see a little bit, or a lot, whatever, of a gas tax. I think you'll see some bonding. I think you'll see some one-time money. I think you'll see some fees. But we have to resolve this. Our local governments are depending on it. You know, if that gas tax goes through, our local communities of Cottage Grove and Hastings, South St. Paul Park, Newport, they get a ton of money from that to help them with their potholes. And remember, if we don't pay for it, it's your property taxes that pay for it. So, you know, I think it's a big deal. It'll be a big discussion, and it will be, I think, the one thing that kind of ties the whole budget together when we get an agreement with that.
I think every time people go on the roads, they always think about the potholes and the damage that needs to be fixed.
Absolutely, the expense of having to get a front end alignment or replacing an axle or tire, not to mention the slow, you know, you have to slow down, so you hit one of those potholes at 65, 70 miles an hour. I mean, that's going to do some damage, and that's expensive. So it's in the best interest for safety, for just direct flow of commerce, you know, to have a good transportation bill. And not to mention, the last time, our district knows very well the investment of a good transportation bill, because we got the Hastings Bridge, and I proudly supported that. I think we'll get there in the end, and people understand these don't pay for themselves and they're not cheap, but they're the right thing to do to have safe infrastructure for our residents and our commerce.
Well, it's definitely one to watch.
Yes.
Another one that's a big topic is industrial hemp.
Yes, we have one of the largest industrial hemp farms in Denmark Township. It's called Minnesota Hemp Farms, and John Strophus is the owner, and he is just a tremendous businessman and entrepreneur. And really, this is the right thing to do, is to take a look at how we can make Minnesota the epicenter of industrial hemp. It can be used for insulation, motor oil, people are trying to do it, food, clothing. I mean, that is something that is sustainable. It's better for the environment, but also it has health benefits to it too. CBD oil derived from industrial hemp helps with swelling and pain, arthritis, and all of that. I broke my foot terribly 3 years ago. I know you remember that.
I remember that, yep.
And I've had 3 surgeries on it. And I use the CBD from industrial hemp, and my foot feels, and I'm 40. And so, you start feeling some stuff at this age, I hear. And my foot
gets
feels,
worse.
it gets worse?
It gets worse.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
Don't tell me that. But my foot feels as if it hasn't been broken. I can snowshoe, I can run, I can do all that. And it was utterly painful because of the arthritis and because of, our weather conditions here. So it does truly work. But part of that is we have to have truth in labeling, truth in testing. I have a bill for that. Also, we have Leafline Labs in Cottage Grove, and to have industrial hemp folks sell to the medicinal marijuana folks diversifies their crop, diversifies their ability to sell product, and that is good for Minnesota's economy. And so we just have a lot to do there, and we're going to continue to push for it, and I think we can get there. And I'm hoping that we'll have some good stuff come through the legislature this session, and really let those entrepreneurial juices flow, and really let's make Minnesota one of the top places for the industrial hemp program.
Well, let's be clear that this isn't smokable marijuana.
No, it is not. Industrial hemp is not marijuana. It has, if any, trace levels of THC. It does not get you high. It really has a sustainable purpose, and I believe has health benefits. And I think it's just something that Minnesota should be working towards being a strong proponent of, so that we can benefit, our economy can benefit from it, and good jobs. So I definitely think we're going to get there this session.
Okay. Anything else you'd like to say?
Just the constituents need to keep calling, keep emailing, keep stopping by this beautiful Capitol, and really letting us know what's on your mind and what is important to you, because that's how we do our jobs the best. And I always just want to thank you for coming up and checking in with us and getting the information out to the residents. You do a wonderful job and a wonderful service.
Well, thank you so much. And of course, people can check you out on Facebook.
Absolutely.
And Instagram.
And Twitter.
And Twitter. Anything else? Did I miss anything?
No.
Okay.
No.
Well, thanks so much for joining me today.
All right. Thank you, Ann.